remember, like, we have gone through the concept of work queue and what are the major options that we have as part of the work queue. And we have covered all the major concepts. Today, we will just see a few of the remaining things as part of the work queue, and then probably we'll try to consolidate into a simple example and then see how that works. So as part of the exercise that we did, the one thing the I wanted to tell you, like, so usually we have a concept of environment variables in Blue Prism. So first, let us understand what is environment variables. So environment variables are nothing but these are the variables which remain same throughout the processing of the of the Blue Prism. Like, it didn't get changed either you use in any of those pages or any of the main page or objects. Wherever you use, the value will remain same. Like, just for example, if there is any login screen, like the application that you're trying to automate, and there is any login screen, the username and password is never going to remain, never going to change, right? So in those cases, instead of hard coding the value, we always use environment variables. How we create the environment variables? There's a process, like you can go to the Blue Prism, and then in the System tab, there is option here, environment variables. So when you click on this environment variable, you can add an environment variable. Let's say, I wanted to define the environment variables for, like, let's say I'm reading the data file, right? So here I'm trying to read from one of the location. So instead of hard coding it, I wanted to define some value, as because this location is going to remain same, right? So this is one of the example where we can use the environment variable. So if you go and create an environment variable here, let's say you just give the name, uh, Excel path, and then you can say, like, this is a text variable type, the path of the Excel file, and what you can do, you can define the value here. So you can just copy paste from here. Just remove the double quotes. Okay, now just click on apply. So once you applied it, it's pretty much saved the value. Now once you go here in the process studio, and what you can do, like, you just bring one of the data item and give, then here if you see that exposure, right? So it says that what kind of exposure that it has. So once you select environment variable, so this is read the corresponding environment variable from the system manager. So the one that you have created will all be reflected here in the name tag, in drop down. So we have created a read Excel, right? So this should be here somewhere. It should reflect here. Somehow it's not reflecting. So what we can do, probably, yeah, we can just cancel it and refresh it. Let me see again. See, Excel path came here, right? So we can just get the name, and whatever we have given the initial value there, it will automatically get reflected here. So that's how we used to create this type of environment variable, and you can click on OK. Now, if you go here in action 2, So instead of using this hard-coded text, you can bring the Excel path environment variable. So whenever we are going to use any kind of variable which will remain same throughout the processing of Blue Prism, we are going to use that in environment variable. And if there is any variable which is, which is which can change its value, and it's all depend upon the process. I mean, a specific process. So see what's the benefit of having this variable as a environment variable. It's like, let's say tomorrow you have changed a location of the path. Okay, so instead of this location you have used some different location. So in that case, what will happen, like you don't have to go and modify your process. You can directly go to your Blue Prism system manager tab, and there you can just define, you can change the Excel path variable. So that's the benefit you have. So that's what, like, this is one of the main concepts that we'll be using for assigning our variables.
Karan, is this the global variable, or can we use it for all the process?
No, global variable is something which, see, the ones that I shown you initially. In order to make global variable, what you have to do, like, let's say if I bring any variable here, right? So if I just uncheck this particular visibility, right, then it become a global. So that's because what is this, like, this particular variable is only concise to this main page. Now I wanted this variable to access from any other page, so that it become a global, right? That's the main concept of global, right? So we just uncheck it. So if I go to any other page, I can access that variable. So this variable will be a global variable. But environment variable is something which will not change its value. Like if I just uncheck this variable, this value is not going to change. Okay.
Okay.
And if this value gets changed, I don't have to modify the entire process. I can directly go to my, system manager tab and change the value from there. Okay. So that's the main thing of environment variable. So even if you go and, if you go into the code here, you have used launch page, right? So here in launch, I mean, login page, you are giving input. So these things, it will remain same always, right? So you can define this value in environment variable instead of hard coding it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question here is, if we have created one environment variable,
Right.
can we use the same variable name for other process also?
Yeah, you can use the same variable for other process also. Let's say you have created that particular environment variable Excel path, and you are using the same Excel, right, in the other
Okay.
process
Yes.
also. Then you can use the same environment variable in the other process also, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, as part of the queue that we have discussed here, right? Let's say here in add queue, we have some of the like options here, like defer until or priority or tag. So we'll just see, what these means to us. And there is one more thing I wanted to tell you. So here, if there is any exceptions was coming, right? We were again going and finding the next item here. So
Hi, Karan. I just have a small doubt.
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, let's say we are using this environment variable across different processes, but can we, let's say we are executing two processes at the same time,
Okay.
then will that be any conflict because it's using the same path?
No, there won't be any conflict. It's just using a different instance, right? So, like, it just define the particular path, and then let's say if it opens the particular Excel file, that will be one instance. Other instance will be separate, like that other process is using the different instance, which you are saving in handle variable, right? So one handle is defining one instance, another handle defining the other instance. So it's not going to making any conflict.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the one more thing here is there is a retry option is there, right? I mean, once you add to queue, uh, so obviously you have defer until and all those options are there. Apart from that, let's say once you get the next item and you come in output. So in output you have attempts option. So the thing is, sometime what happens when there is any exception, you see that okay, there is any exception and it catch in this particular block, and then what you are trying to do, you are trying to mark it as exception in your work queue. Now after marking as a exception, what you wanted to do, you wanted to again retry it, right? And for retry, I already told you, like you have defined in the release system manager in the work queue. So here in the travel code, you have defined maximum attempts too. So in case of any exception, it will create a replica of one more item to again retry that particular attempt. Now here, if you see, like after, if the attempt is like, if there's no exception, what we are trying to do, we are trying to mark it as complete, right? So once we mark it as a complete, we are adding to a main collection. But if it is exception also, if we wanted to mark it to a main collection, so what we can do, usually, like, you do not want to mark as exception in the first attempt. You mark, you wanted to add this particular mark exception when you see that there is like already it tried for 3 attempts. So here it provide you the option. um, yeah, it provide, if you go into the output field here in the get next item, there is attempts. So if you click on attempt, it create a number of variables. So it will show you how many numbers of attempt that this particular process is making. So using this, you can also count the number of attempt, and then once you are going to mark, after moving from this mark exception tab to copy to main exception, you can have a decision block where you can check that if the mark, the retry attempt is equal to 3, then only copy to main collection. So that is, you are provided with this retry attempts variable. That is one thing. There is one more thing, like if you are trying to mark it as exception, and here in the retry flag, you don't want to retry it, like you just say that false. So in that case, in this case, it won't create any replica of the particular work queue item. So in work queue, you have marked maximum attempt 2. So if there is any exception, it will go and create a replica of the same item. But once you come here and mark it as an exception, what will happen, like if in the retry, if it sees that the flag is false, it won't create any replica. It will go and pick the next item. So that is, you have 2 different kind of option for the retry logic that you can build on. Apart from that, you are also provided with the option of the tagging and filter. So which we'll be seeing in later session. But just for your understanding, in the queue, if you open it here, so you are provided with a deferential. So deferential is nothing but, if you just define the time here, let's say you define some time like today, you are running, let's say you are running some job, right? and you wanted those jobs to be picked only after 12 p.m., not before 12 p.m. So in that case, what you can do, you can define a differential time. So you can define any variable from here, and let's say the time is not going to change. So you can define that also as environment variable, and then as a date variable, and then what you can do in the uh, so in the like here, once you are adding to the queue, you can define that when you wanted to pick it up. So it will not touch those item in the queue till the time reaches a particular limit. Even if you go to the control room, and if you open this particular travel code queue, so it will show you like I mean, it will show you the tag here. So if you see, this is a tag, and so total work time. And so once you have defined the deferential time, it will one more column will created called defer, like what time it wanted it to pick it up. So it will be keep on waiting till that time before it can be pick it up. So that's what the refer to concept is there. And the tag is nothing but you want, so let's say if there is a file here, right, that we are working on, and there is any kind of so what I wanted to say, like there is some postal code. Let's say there is postal code which is very unique to every item, and you wanted to tag based on this item. Every queue, like every line item in the queue, you wanted to tag it based on this particular postal code. So you can define this postal code as your tag, and what will happen once you go to your the work queue, in the tag item here, all those postal code will be reflected. So let's say this is a postal code which define a specific area in the place that you are staying. So let's say in United Kingdom, this is a particular area, and then there are 10 items related to this area. So once you have defined this postal code, once you have defined the postal code as a tag, so all the items which are having this part, which are having a different postal code will be first coming into tag column. That is first step. Now you wanted to do a filter on based on this particular postal code. So what you can do, like here you have option here. If you see, so here you have defined the tag, and after that, once you are trying to get the next item, what you can do, you can define a filter. So only for the particular postal code you wanted to pick the item. So you have 30 item and you wanted to pick the 10 item for this particular, which has only this particular postal code. Then you can apply a filter on this particular postal code, and only those line item which had this particular postal code will get picked up. So that is the concept of uh, the particular filter item that you can define here in your process. Okay, so those are the remaining things which is there as part of apart from that, what all other things were there we have pretty much discussed, and there can be different way of doing it, but the things remain same, and how you do it, it can be differ from person to person, right? So the main thing that we have learned is that once we have added all the collection item into the queue, then you try to pick it up every item from queue one by one and keep processing it. Some item will get failed, so you catch the exception and mark them as exception. The item which gets processed, you mark them complete, and you collect everything in the main collection, and then if you wanted to add them to the Excel sheet, you can write it to Excel sheet and then save it. So those, like, that is what end-to-end things will be there. So did you guys tried anything, I mean, from this particular exercise, try to process it, or do you want to see it again? Hello, someone was asking something. Do you have any question? Anil?
Yeah, Karan. So I have a different question. So what I want to know is, um, for example, when we create different processes in the queue management, we can still schedule which process should run first automatically. I mean to say without manual interference, right?
Right.
And this has to be, if I'm doing it on a computer, it has to be on, or else it has to be published in some server where it runs even if there is no one around.
That's correct.
Okay. So
Yeah, so usually what happened, let's say, I will let you know. So the thing is, what happened, you have different VDI, right? Virtual desktop. So what we used to do, like, every VMs are obviously they are connected to Blue Prism server at end of the day, production server, right? Now I have one process. Let's say I have automated one of the process for finance team, right? That I was working. Now I know that my process has a good number of items that need to be processed throughout the day. Then obviously my entire VDI machine need to be dedicated to that particular process. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to assign a dedicated bot for my particular process, because I have already calculated that, let's say my process has 500 items coming in a particular day, and every item take, let's say you calculate some time, right? Random time, how much time one item used to take. So you calculate total number of time. So obviously, like, for a particular day, you need to have one system or one bot need to be dedicated for that particular process. So you'll be creating a separate queue for that particular process, and you want all those items related to the particular process run under the particular queue. So in that particular VDI machine, uh, you will let it run without any intervention. And then if there is any other sub process, or if there is any other reporting tasks that need to be taken care, what you can do, you can schedule it on other machine, because that not need to be run 24 cross 7. I mean, that is only need to be run on a need case basis. Like reporting, obviously you'll be doing at end of the day. So in that case, you put other apart from other things on a different VDI machine and let it run.
okay.
Yeah, because every bot has license, and you do not want to, because license are very costly, and only if the bot need to be dedicated for particular process, then only you want it to assign a dedicated bot. Otherwise, the bot will take care, different processes at a time.
Okay. Thanks, Karan.
No problem. Yeah, so this is what I mean. So far, we have understood and we have gone through. So if you see, like, apart from this, how you used to pass the data, so that at least for let's say just a basic example, you have a data here and you wanted to, you know so let's say you wanted to save that this data to this sheet here, and you have reference number and the total cost need to be generated. How you can achieve this? So let's try it now, and then we'll see if you have any doubt. So what we are trying to do, like, in this process, first thing is, we are trying to read the data file and then we are adding it to queue and then we are processing everything in the code item. So in the code page, if you see, first we are trying to launch and log in and then we are creating the code. So if you go here in the create code field, so we have, so basically, what all options we have here, what we can do, like we can create different input items. So let's say from destination, you can define a data type as text and then store in from destination. To destination, data type as text and define as to destination. Departing date. Now what we are trying to do here, from the main process, once the control will reach to the create code queue, we will be passing the data dynamically from here to the objects. So instead of it taking the hard coded value, it will be taking the data from the Excel sheet and trying to execute it. So the concept that you learned, like input and output, like if you wanted to, this is your main process, like the higher process, and this is your lower process. So obviously, like, you wanted to give input to the lower process, so always it comes in a start tab. So that's what we are adding here, all the value. Travel date. Children and name. Postal code, telephone, email, and postal code, text, email, phone number. Okay. So we have added all those variables as a input variables to this particular create code page action in this particular object. Now what we are going to do here, so once you're coming here from destination, okay, so the one thing that you can see here, what we can do next is, for all those stages that we have here, what we can do, like we can just change the values. So email that we have going to use here, let's put the email option here. Phone number, postal code. So now here I'm trying to get the value from the variable instead of hard coding it. Last time we hard coded it, and now we are going to fetch pretty much through the variable name. This we will be retrieving from the main process. Here one more important thing is one that we have to see that so the date, if you see here, uh, the date is in form of dash, right? 1904-2018. Now I wanted in term of dd/mm/yyyy. So what we can do now? So if you see, we have a date function here, and then there is also called a format date time. So if you click on format date, and if you see, like, the value that we have for date and how we want it to format. So we can select travel date here, because this is what we are going to receive, and how we wanted to format it. So we wanted to format it in form of dd uh, mm dd mm yyyy. Paste it. So this will format the date, like whatever the input that is coming into dd mm yy. To destination. From destination. Okay, so just clicking the action. So pretty much we have defined everything, and then obviously we have output, right? So once we have captured the reference number and then total price, then we are trying to pass that to our main process. So now to define output, we have to get the variable in end stage. So if you see that I have already added two of the variable which is already there, reference number and price. Now those value from the quote reference and value from the total price. So these value I have already getting captured in this particular variables, and then these will be passed eventually to the main process. So here I'll just save my the object file that I've created, and I'll go to my main process. Now, as part of my main process, if you go here in the create quote tab, so the thing is, yeah. So here, what we are trying to do, if you get output, so what we are trying to do here, if you see, we're trying to get the values. We are trying to get the values in these two variables, get reference and the price variables, right, as an output. Just refresh it. See, so here whatever the input that I have created there in the objects, it all get reflected here. Okay, now what we are doing here in the main page, we are finally copying all the data to our main collection item. So the main collection item is now going to hold all the values which have already been processed by my queues, and those are the actual values basically that we wanted to add, right? But before that, what we are trying to do is like we are trying to process the queue, right? And we are processing the queue. So if you see the get next item, here what we are doing, we are getting the data from the data collection item. So the item which is there in data collection item is getting is being passed to the code. So once it comes to the code page, it is trying to get data from the get data collection item and try to feed in here. So if you click on create code, the from destination, it is getting from this particular data item. Its data collection item is providing the value. Okay, but what is the from destination? So if you open this particular Excel sheet, so here it is flying from is nothing but from destination. So let's say the flying from, the column which is there, I'll just copy it. And then, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to access this particular field of this collection. And to access this field, what is the format? Collection dot field name. So that's what I'm trying to do. So collection is nothing but data, and the field name will be data dot flying from. Similarly, to destination, travel date. So if you see, like whenever I'm trying to put this particular data item here, it is giving me some warning because this is a text value that I'm trying to fetch, but here it is collection. But ultimately what we are trying to do, we are trying to access the particular field item that we are defining as a dot. So collection dot particular field value. Now collection are two types, right? Collection, one type of collection are defined collection, where you already defined all those fields that you wanted to access. But these are undefined collection where the fields are not defined. You are defining based on when you import the particular Excel file to the particular collection. Now for travel date, what date we have is a departure date. So we'll be taking the departure date here and dot departure date. Adults, just copy. Children, same thing. Name. So you can take any, you can take first name probably. Yeah. So data dot first name. Postal code is nothing but postcode. So data dot postcode. Email. Phone number is nothing but contact number. Yeah. No, this is we have defined all the value that we are trying to pass through this particular stage, action stage in our process. So this create quote action stage will basically pass all these value to our object, and then it will be captured dynamically there and populate all the item in our web page. Similarly, for the get output item, if you see like in the output, we have reference number and price. And these what we wanted to do, that we wanted to capture in the data item. So in the same data item, what we can define as, so let's say, let me just copy here. Reference number. Total cost. Okay, so that's what we have saved it in the data dot reference number and data dot total cost. So whatever value that we are receiving from this particular stage in these two variables will be passed eventually to get output stage in the output variable get data reference number data dot total cost in the particular Excel sheet. So let me just close it. Yeah. So thus now with this we have almost set our process. Now what we are going to do, like let me just run this process and see what value that we receive. Okay. Okay. So this saying that please enter a valid departure date DD YY format. So let me again try to change it. What we can do like is so in the quote create quote. So departing, what we can define is DD YY format. Okay. Okay. Oh, it is text variable, so it won't give you, but once while calculating on the runtime, it will give you the particular value. I think because of this capital letter, it was showing the problem. I have just make it in a proper format. Now let me see, save it. Okay, now let me run it again and see what's the output. Before running it, what I can do, like whatever the queue has created, let me just delete it. Okay, now there is no item in this particular queue. Now let me run this particular process. Took the first item. It's getting the all the value from the first item. Somehow seems like okay. Yeah, I think it is not able to take the date item. That's why it's going into exception. So let me do one thing. Okay, let me close this page again. And what we can do, let's go to the code stage again. In the object, let's add a breakpoint here. Now go to processes, Blue Prism, and delete. So you see, like since we have defined to rerun as 2 times, so every item is defining one replica if it's going into exception. Let me run this again. Oh, okay. I mean, instead of, there's one more thing. Instead of creating a breakpoint here, we should always create a breakpoint from the process so we can track it to the particular object. Okay. Okay. Now it is still this particular stage. Now let's go to create code page. Now first is clicking on create code button. So if you see here, it's clicked on create code. Now it will give the select to option. So select from is given, to is given. Now it's trying to get the departing date. Failed to evaluate expression in row 1 of right state departing on page create code format date function require 2 argument of type date and text. So it is saying that it required 2 argument of type date and text. So what we can do here, first let me reset it. Yeah. So if you go here in the date format date, so get text representation of local date in a Go global in the given format. So it used to give, so okay. So this is my variable and I wanted to give it in this proper format, ddmmyy. So just let me take this particular format and try. but usually you should give it expression is valid only. Travel date. So the one more thing is there, if you see, right now I'm trying to fetch it from Excel sheet. So I told you whatever we will be fetching in from Excel sheet will be in form of text variable, right? Whenever you'll be coming here, when you're defining your travel date here, so you should convert this particular travel date into a date variable before fetching it here. So once you try to convert this into a date variable, it will give you the option. Let me try this again, and if it gives error, then what we can do, maybe we'll hard code it this for particular variable, and then what you can do, like you can just so there is a conversion option, right? uh, to date. So whatever the value that you are getting, the text variable, just if you just copy paste here, it will convert into the to date variable, and you can use that to date variable here. Okay, so that's how we can do it. Let me see if this particular thing works. Should ddmmyy. Yeah. Yeah, or otherwise what we can do, let me just, for now, instead of wasting a time, what we can do, let's me take this travel date alone here, expression. Okay, departing, and close this. And then what, when you'll be trying, so as suggested, what you can do, you can convert this particular variable from the text to date format, and then you can use the particular date format variable. So here what I will do, just change the value, 01. Okay, now let me run this process and see. Hmm? Why it is taking this again, same date? Oh, yeah, I think we have not cleared the queue. Let me first clear the queue, because I think it's taking the previous value which was already there. Yeah, now there's no value. Now let me run it. So total price 126 and 2001 is a quote reference number. This time total price is 91. Okay, so ideally you should first close this page, because if it not close this page, what will happen? Because here it is once you launch it, right? If it once it goes to code page, if the page is already launched, it won't able to fetch the ideal value. So in the here, what we should do is should terminate it. So let's run again. See, once we terminated it, what happened? Okay, now in the travel date, if you see in the current value, not in travel, yeah, okay, one more thing that we have missed here. So this particular data item, so if you see here, the data item that we are using here, right? So data item is trying to get the value, trying to fetch the value from the data item here. In the quote, if you go here, this create quote values, right? We are trying to fetch the value from the data item, this data collection. Now, instead of, so once we fetch the data from, data item, and what we have to do finally when we are writing it, so we should write it to the uh, this collection, copy data item, because this is our final collection, right? So once we are writing it here, because eventually all the data from this particular collection will go out. We have just used the data once it was there, and it will go out from here. And finally, we are copying everything in the copy data collection, right? So whatever the output value is there, we should basically writing it here. One more thing we just have to see. So let me first run this process. Let have this breakpoint here. See what's going around in the fast speed. Okay. So if you go here in the main process studio, if you see this, so all my values are first added to this particular collection, right? These two values are empty now, and we are using the value which is there in this particular collection, which is data id collection. Now if you go into this object, what I'm trying to do, so here from get selected, then departing one way, adult, children, name, everything is getting selected, postal code, telephone, email, navigate to. Now see, I captured every, like all this step in this create code is done. Now I'm going into quote stage, and again if I click here, so it is capturing the quote reference number. Quote reference number is whatever is there. Once I go from here, okay, so it says no fail to perform step 1 in read stage. Quote reference on page get output, no element matches applied query item. So seems like there is some failure in the this particular stage. Okay, yeah, I think last time when we did the exercise, I think we have changed something, the value here, if you remember, just to fail the item. So div2 will be div1. So this is just, I mean, wait, if you see, like, how we dig the problem, what the problem is there. So now, okay, now this should be fine. All right. So what, just close this page and go to your main process studio. Close the breakpoint, refresh it. Yeah. Now go to your, just delete it. So first item is being worked on, captured everything. Still it is going to an exception. Let me go to quote stage and go to create quote. Current value. Oh, I change it to 1, right? Again, let me do first one thing. Should not idly change like this when process is running. Okay, let me first refresh it and then open the save. Yeah, this is good. Let's check again. Yeah, now it is fine. This is marking complete, copying to main collection, getting the next item, pending item, again moving to quote, again trying to work on the second item, capture the data, again marking as complete, copying to main collection, is getting the next item, but there is no next item, so it will end the process. Now if you go to the copy data row and in current value, you see all the values which is worked on, and if you see here, the reference number which got generated, right? It captured the reference number and is stored in this particular collection, and also the total price that was captured. And if you go into the control row, and if you click on refresh, you see these two values are completed. So everything will be there. Now, once the values are here, what you can do, once you come out of this loop, so you can use a action stage, and here MX Excel VBO, and what you can do, you can write to a collection. So write collection. So there is an option called write collection. So this will write the value that you have in collection, and let's say if you wanted to write this in particular Excel sheet. So let's say I wanted to write in sheet 3 entire collection with my output, right? So for that I have an action stage as part of MX Excel VBO, which is called write collection. So here what I'm going to do, handle is nothing but handle, and which collection I'm going to add. So it is my copy data final collection, right? And workbook name is nothing but my workbook name, and worksheet name is sheet 3. From where I wanted to write is from A1. So you can define here A1 and include column name. So yeah, include column name also to give it as true because it's a flag variable. Now once this is done, you can close your Excel sheet. For that you have option close workbook. Save data as true. Now just delete these values. Okay. Now let me run at fast speed. Okay, here something was missing. What was missing? Oh, in sheet 3, double quote should be there. So we have written to the Excel sheet. Once we go here and open our Excel sheet, so we'll see that in sheet 3. So we have captured the reference number and we have captured the total cost that we have generated. And if there will be like 50, 100 or whatever row, so whatever the total cost is there and total reference number will be dynamically can capture here and store as our output variable. And you can basically save in whatever cells of this particular Excel sheet that you want. It's up to you. So this is how dynamically you can pass the input from your Excel sheet. You can process everything and then you can fetch the output data that you have after processing from your automated process in Blue Prism, and then you can get the output data. So everything got captured in your copy data collection, final collection, and from there you have copied that into your Excel sheet. So that was one end-to-end scenario that I have just discussed as part of the web automation. So I hope this is clear to you. Let me know if you have any doubt. And in case if you feel like if there is any issue, how you can debug it, how you can create a breakpoint, how you can see where it is failing and all those things, you can also accordingly, like how I have find it out that there was a problem, you can do it. And this pretty much cover each and every concept. So if you even if you take some example and try to do it from your end, it will try to touch each and every concept that we have so far discussed. So yeah, guys, like if do you have any doubts here or any questions? Anil, Hari, Lakshman, Venkatesh.
No, Karan.
Okay. Okay, then this call out for the day, and then we'll come tomorrow, and then we'll see some desktop based application, and then we'll see take some scenarios. And first we will try to there is some remaining portion as part of this course. We'll try to cover that, and then we will go into creating some end-to-end scenario as part of desktop based scenarios automation. Okay.
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 All right, then see you tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.